Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Dr. Abdul Rehman. Today I'm going to record lecture 1, part A for MLT students having a course subjects entitled as Human Physiology with the course code MLT-111. The topic of my today lecture is gastrointestinal tract. Lecture outlines. First, we briefly introduce the human digestive systems because it is one of the most important system of the human body where the complex food materials has been converted into simple molecular form, and these molecular form of the nutrients are then utilized for energy productions. Next, we will discuss the major organ of the gastrointestinal tract and their functions. Like you can see, mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. These are the major organ of the GIT system. But in today's lecture, I'm going to discuss the first three part of the GIT system, that is mouth, esophagus, and stomach. While for small intestine and large intestine, I will record part B of the same lecture. After this, in today's lecture, we will also discuss the accessory organs and their functions. Among the accessory organs, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are the most important organs because they release different enzymes within a GIT tract, and these enzymes then facilitate the process of the digestion and mineralization. Introduction to human digestive systems. Human digestive system is one of the 11 systems of the human body that contains major component of the GIT system, that is mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine, and also includes accessory glands, organs like liver, pancreas, salivary glands, salivary ducts that release different chemicals and into the GIT tracts via connecting ducts, and these substances which has been secreted by the accessory organs contains different enzymes, and these enzymes break down the complex nutrients into simpler forms, and this process of conversion is being called as digestion, where the complex food material has been converted into simple form. After digestion, there is another process within a GIT system, and that is the transport of the nutrients to the internal environment, mainly blood, and then through the blood it has been distributed to the different part of the body. This whole process has been called as absorption and distribution. Once the nutrients has been absorbed, then they will play as a role as a source of energy for body normal physiological activities. The next is the major organ of the gastrointestinal tract. Among major organs, the most important organs are mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine, and we will discuss each and every organ in detail. Here you can see this is the oral cavity that contains tongue, teeth, salivary glands that release saliva, so digestion starts in the mouth. In addition to this, in oral cavity, there is another organ that is called the pharynx. The importance of the pharynx is to prevent the entry of the food after swallowing into the windpipe trachea. So the food has been after swallowed has been passed to the another part of the GIT system that is called as esophagus, which is a long tube connecting mouth with the stomach. The third part is the stomach, which is a J-shaped structure, and it contains different cells that release different enzymes, and these enzymes then play a role in the digestion process. In addition to this, here you can see the accessory organs like liver, gallbladder, and pancreas, which are in connection with the GIT tract. So they release different enzymes according to the nature of the food material, because if food contains large amount of fat, then liver secrete biles, or gallbladder secrete bile which they have stores from the liver. But if the food within a GIT tract contains large amount of protein, then pancreatic juice has been released, and that contains pancreatic enzyme and convert this protein into simple amino acids. This stomach has been connected with the small intestine, and small intestine has further three different parts: duodenum, and ileum. And small intestine has been connected with the larger intestine, but this portion we will discuss in the next part of the same lectures. Mouth. The GIT tract begins at the mouth, where digestion begins with chewings. Mouth is the entry point of the food, and it contains teeth, gums, gum lines, and tongues that aid mechanical digestion of the food. Mouth contains saliva, which is a mixture of the enzyme called amylase, and it has been secreted by the salivary glands and located in the head. And saliva play a major role in the digestion of polysaccharides because it contains enzyme amylase. In addition to this, it also contains mucus which moisten the food. So it will play this moisture will facilitate the easy swallowing of the food from the mouth to the next part of the GIT system. So here you can see these are the gums, and these are the gum lines and teeth. Tongue, inside the mouth there is a tongue, and so by force of up and lower jaws which contains teeth, the food has been chewed, and after chewing it has been mechanically digested, means converted into smaller particles, and these particles are then easily swallowed to the next part of the GIT system, that is called as esophagus. After mouth, the second part of the GIT system is esophagus. Esophagus is a long tube that connects mouth to the stomach, and it runs along the chest cavity called thoracic cavity. It lies just behind the trachea called as windpipe, and there is a epiglottis region that prevent the entry of the food after swallowing into the windpipe. Here you can see a long tube called as esophagus. Its one end is connected with the mouth and the other end is connected with the stomach. It contains two sphincter regions. One is the upper sphincter regions called upper esophagus sphincter, and then another one is the lower sphincter region that connect esophagus to the stomach, and this is called as also called as cardiac sphincters. Here is a structure that is called as trachea. Trachea contains receptors. So during swallowing of the food, these receptors become stimulated and send signals to the central region located in the medulla oblongata. From the medulla oblongata, the impulses came to the pharynx and mouth. So as a result, epiglottis cover the glottis regions, and during swallowing, it allows the movement of the food into the esophagus and prevent its movement into the trachea, that is the windpipe. The next is the movement of the food through the esophagus. In esophagus regions, there is a series of involuntary contraction called as peristalsis. So these peristalsis allow the movement of the food along the long tube. In addition to this, esophageal lining contains mucus that has two basic functions. First, lubricate the surface of the esophagus, and second, facilitate the movement of the bolus along the esophagus. Here you can see the muscles contractions. These muscle contractions compress the food to move forward, and here the esophageal muscle become relaxed. So this contraction and relaxation facilitate the movement of the food from mouth region along the esophagus to the stomach. Esophagus sphincters. As earlier discussed, esophagus contains two sphincter regions, upper esophagus sphincter regions and lower esophagus sphincter regions. Both these sphincters are ring-like structures that allows the movement of the food along the esophagus, while the lower esophagus sphincters, called as cardiac sphincters, allow the movement of the food from esophagus to the stomach and prevent the backflow of the fluid and juices from the stomach to the esophagus. But sometimes back reflexes, that is the clinical conditions, develops which allows the juices, gastric juices, to enter into the esophagus and will lead towards the ulceration or sometimes heartburn, especially in the gastric patients. The next part is the stomach. Stomach is a J-shaped muscular sac and it has inner force called rho that increase surface area of the stomach, and it different mechanical process has been allowed occur within the stomach regions, and as a result, the bolus came from the esophagus mixed with the gastric juices, and gastric juices, which is a mixture of the different compounds like HCl, salts, enzymes, waters, and mucus that further convert this bolus into a product called as chyme, and also break down the complex components present within a food into the simple form. These gastric juices are enough strong to kill bacteria that came along the food. Here you can see the stomach. There is a structure, a rogue that increase the surface area of the stomach. Enzymes in stomach. There are different enzymes present in the stomachs, like epithelial lining in the stomachs invaginate into the mucosa, forming tubular glands. And these tubular glands contain different cells, like parietal cells that secrete acids, while chief cells secretes pepsinogens. In addition to this, enterocrofomen like cells secrete histamine and somatostatin. Antrum, that is the last part of the stomach that secretes also enzyme called gastrin. So increased protein content within a food stimulates gastrin and histamine, which in turn stimulate hydrochloric acid secretions. But whenever the amount of protein within a food decrease, so the uh, somatostatin inhibits acid secretion by inhibiting the release of the gastrin and histamine. Here you can see this is the tubular glands, which contains different cells like gastric gland, parietal cells, enterochromaffin cells, also called as ECL cells, and this is the last part of the stomach. Last part of the stomach called as antrum that release enzymes called gastrin. Pyloric sphincter of the stomach. The pyloric sphincter is a ring-like structure that exists between the stomach and the small intestine, the first part of the small intestine, that is the duodenum. It opens to release small amount of chyme because the bolus came from the esophagus now convert into the chyme. So the small amount of chyme has been allowed to enter into the small intestinal region, that is duodenum, at each wave, and this wave has been generated by longitudinal muscles present within the muscle layer of the stomachs, and gastrin enzyme that is released by the lower region of the stomach, that is antrum, stimulate gastric motility and allows the movement of the food from stomach to the intestine. This is the pyloric sphincter. The next part of our today lecture is accessory organ of the gastrointestinal tract, because among the major organ, accessory organs are also necessary for complete digestion of the food. There are three accessory organs, that is liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. These three organs work in associations to release complex substances that contains different protease, amylase, lipase, enzymes and convert complex carbohydrate, fats, proteins into their respective sample units. And these sample units are then reabsorbed into the blood, and through the blood it has been distributed to the different part of the body where it has been stored as a source of energy. In short, we can say that without the absence of these three organs, the GIT did not perform their designated function, that is digestion and metabolism of the complex compounds. So we will discuss each organ in detail. Liver. Liver is one of the largest accessory organ and it has a weight of 1.5 kg. It is surrounded by a membrane called liver membrane, which protect them from the external stimuli and also from the microbial infection. Liver secretes a greenish yellow color pigment called bile, which is a mixture of different salts, and these salts are used to neutralize fat present within our food product. In addition to this, bile also contains bicarbonate ion, which are used to neutralize the acid came from the stomach into the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. In liver, there is a one mechanism that is one of the negative feedback mechanism and protective mechanisms, because liver is one of the important organ of the body, so its exertion will lead towards the liver cirrhosis and automatically certain death. So naturally there is a protective mechanism that is called enterohepatic circulation. In this case, liver secrete biles into the intestinal tract where they neutralize the fat present within a food, and after this the bile has been reabsorbed in the intestine and are then returned back to the liver via portal vein. So this is the mechanism, natural mechanism taking place within human GIT system. Here you can see there are two lobes. One is the left hepatic duct and another one is the right hepatic duct. Beside this, the hepatic portal vein that reabsorb that are used to reabsorb to bring the reabsorbed bile into the liver portion. Beneath the liver, there is a small organ called gallbladders, which has been used to store the bile. And there is another organ that is the pancreas, which secretes different pancreatic juices. So all these three systems are in association, are in combination with the human GIT system. The next is the gallbladder. As you know, that gallbladder is a small sac that lies beneath the liver, and it is used to store bile secreted by the livers. How it works: whenever there is a high concentration of fat within a food contents, then gallbladder release the stored biles into the small intestine where they digest the fat present in the food. So here you can see this is a small pouch like duct just lie beneath the small livers. Pancreas. This is one of the important accessory organ present in the GIT system. It secretes a number of different enzymes into the small intestines, which then facilitate to digest the complex carbohydrate, lipid, and protein content present in the food. In addition to this, pancreas also secretes bicarbonate ions which neutralize excess HCl released from the stomach into the smaller intestinal portion. And the pancreas secretes about 1 liter of pancreatic fluid per day. Here you can see the pancreas. It has a long tail-like portions, and the intermediate portion has been called as the body, and in the start there is a region called as the head region. There is a duct called pancreatic duct, and through this duct, pancreatic juices has been released into the small intestine. So, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder, all these three organs are in association with each other. So secretion in the pancreatic pancreas, or you can say pancreatic secretions. So inactive trypsin is secreted by pancreas and is later converted by intestinal enzyme enterokinase into ectotrypsin, which digests proteins. Beside this, pancreatic amylase and lipids are secreted in active forms, so the pancreas also secrete bicarbonate ions. And secretion of pancreatic enzyme is stimulated by different factors like cholecystokinin, that is one of the stimuli factors that stimulate the secretion of pancreatic juices. So whenever there is a presence of fatty materials or some proteinaceous or some carbohydrates within food present in the GIT tract, so the pancreatic juices has been released according to the nature of the food. While the secretion of bicarbonate is stimulated by secretins, which is triggered by acidity in the small intestine. What does it mean? Whenever there is a high concentration of acid that came from the stomach to the intestine, then this high concentration of acidity will stimulate the secretion of bicarbonate ions. So as a result, the acidity of the small intestine has been relieved. And with this, we have to finish our this lecture. Thank you so much.